So so how come you had a net freeze on employment? You couldn't employ people. You had a backlog of nurses, teachers. You couldn't even pay teacher training allowance. You couldn't pay nursing training allowance.
You see, this is the point I was making. Because the final stop is the controller, right? Everybody looked to the controller, and everybody came to the controller and the Minister of Finance. But if I didn't have your appointment letter, am I going to pay? Right? If I didn't have your posting, am I going to pay? Because then the Auditor General will come, and the controller has no basis for making those payments. One of the measures we took, and this is not new, is continuing, and it's become even worse. But one of the measures we took, which was seriously distorted by the current administration, was that we said, I called the controller, and we got permission, from the Office of President, and we said, look, the teachers and nurses who have been posted already, we know them. The list is there. The only thing is that they have been working and they have not received because we haven't gotten their credentials. So let us pay them salary advance of 3 months. You see where the 3 months is coming? Let's pay them salary advance for 3 months. Right?
The narrative out there is that they had worked for 2 years, some 3 years, and then you decided that you would pay them 3 months salary for the 2 or 3 years they had worked.
That was MPP distortion. And it actually applied to those who are new postings, because as for the old postings, it's a long time. Currently, it's a thing which we were resolving with the HRMI system and the interface and whatever, because we are dealing with paper. Somebody who is in the village has to send it to the district, from the district to the region, and the region, and along the way, those who can grease palms would go and grease and fast track, their own. How about if you didn't have it? But so what we said was that let's pay, the batch of teachers and nurses and doctors, let's pay them a salary advance. Right? Because by then we had done the treasury single account, there was some liquidity. So that when their authorization comes, then we would offset it and take the money and pay them the net. And this was also distorted. That, we have decided to pay only 3 months and forget about the arrears and other things. And Consent Teachers Association, and then we explained it. I did a media briefing still on the website. So that's the humanitarian act, right? But the right, to the teacher was completely distorted. And unfortunately by some of the teachers themselves.
Why did you decide to stop paying nursing and teacher training allowance?
Oh, that was a major decision that was taken. And the rationale is that they are tertiary institutions.
Okay.
Right? And the second reason is that, schools and all these things were coming. Right? And even the tertiary expansion, and
if you say they are tertiary institutions, what does that got to do with allowance?
Because in principle, tertiary institutions took loans. So we were transitioning them to loans.
Okay.
Yeah, for, equality, equity, and whatever. But also, if you transition them to loans, right, then the budget allocation is not a constraint for admission.
Okay, so it removes the quota system.
Exactly.
Okay.
Maybe not completely, but transitionally as it went along, because you had to pay the teachers and whatever. We had, the challenges, but at least it starts removing the quota system. Right? And so you channel some of those resources rather into the, the loan fund, trust. Right? So that was the rationale. I think President Mama has explained this umpteen times, but of course it was against his support. Okay.
So I raised an issue, and we'll probably try and round up with that one. You are a taxman through and through. So
I'm a PFM, I'm an accountant.
Okay.
So I do expenditure as well.
Okay. So but for many of us, taxman, VAT, taxman. So you eat, drink, sleep, taxation. So you become finance minister, even as deputy, to become finance minister. And your obsession is with how you can tax us and milk us dry.
No. Remember the levies, right? We introduced two types of levies, right? One, where when we entered the fund program, which is something that has been done from the Rawlings administration, as part of the measures to take the economy out of this problem, you introduce temporary taxes. There are two: temporary import duty and then fiscal stabilization levy. At the end of the IMF program, they lapsed. So the fact that we introduced them, they were kept, they should have lapsed. In 2017, 2018, when the IMF program ended, it's the current administration that kept them. But the tradition has always been, even when the one that Professor Mills did into they lapse. They always lapse. So nobody can blame us for it.
So,
two,
yes.
The majority of levies, the second levy that we introduced was ESLA, which was also to lapse in 3 to 5 years. It was the current government that collateralized it. It's the current government that did not apply the money, to pay the IPPs, and today we have done so and other things. Because the amount that was estimated and the insistence of the opposition now in power was that they were not giving us a penny more. So we had to calculate the liability to the penny. That's the 2.2 billion. And we started dutifully paying VRA, the VRA subsidies that we were owing, but we brought the banks from whom they are borrowing, to know that we were paying VRA. And they created a fund. We brought the IPP. In fact, we gave a term sheet of $500 million to the current administration from Afrism to pay the IPPs. That was the phase 2.
You give them that?
Yes, the term sheet. It wasn't done. Yes. So I think we shouldn't buy into this narrative that we introduced